Okay, where do we even begin with this chapter? Fedor wrestling a bear? Like, that is just... wow. Straight into the deep end with the action. No messing about.
It's intense, isn't it? The scene is so vividly written. You can almost feel the throbbing pain and the adrenaline, that sense of survival. It's a stark reminder of how unforgiving the world in The Stone Thieves can be.
And terrifying. I mean, imagine waking up, thinking for a second you've been eaten. Poor Fedor. But honestly, that's what makes it so gripping. From the second you're in that riverbed with him, it's like heart-pounding edge of your seat.
Agreed. This moment really sets the tone for the dangers these characters are going to face. And it goes beyond physical threats too. There's this constant tension between bravery and vulnerability. Fedor's whole reaction to the bear...
You're so raw, right?
Exactly. He's brave, sure. But the way he pushes through despite his injuries shows more than just physical bravery. It's this mental resilience. It kind of makes you think he might need that inner strength for challenges we haven't seen yet.
But can we talk about his mum for a second? Aliona? Because she's such a mood. One moment, she's scolding him for taking these massive risks, and the next, she's completely doting on him. It's a perfect mix of tough love and total worry.
Absolutely. I think it's really interesting how Aliona juggles those emotions. On one hand, she's angry, maybe because she's scared for him. But on the other, she knows this is kind of what's expected from him. There's this societal expectation for Fedor to tough it out. It seems like she's grappling with that duality.
Right. And doesn't it just highlight the pressure on him to live up to all these expectations? It gives me goosebumps, thinking about how, even in their rural setting, these subtle ideas about masculinity and responsibility are just baked in. Like, sorry, Fedor, no time to recover, got to grab the axe in the morning.
And Fedor doesn't even complain, does he? There's this quiet acceptance. It's an interesting contrast to the way bravery is portrayed in other stories, where heroes are outwardly brash or overconfident. It's a more subdued kind of courage here.
Yeah, and way more relatable. I think that's what makes moments like this so powerful. The danger feels real, the characters feel real. It draws readers in deeper because it almost feels possible.
You know, this actually reminded me of one of my favourite moments in the chapter, the bit where the dogs are fussing over him. It's such a tender, grounding detail amidst all this chaos, just a little slice of normality.
Oh my gosh, Misha and Mikhail, they're absolute heroes, aren't they? Like, forget the humans for a second, these dogs are the real stars here. Good dogs. Yes, Fedor, they really are.
Good dogs indeed. But coming back to the bigger picture, I think this chapter sets up a lot of themes we'll be exploring later. Not just survival, but parental relationships, identity, and how these characters navigate their worlds.
Totally. That mix of action, danger, and emotional depth is what makes The Stone Thieves stand out. It's unpredictable, but also super relatable, you know? Anyway, we should probably move on, because Veronique's story is next, and oh boy, do I have thoughts about her.
So speaking of emotional depth, Veronique's arc really ramps it up, doesn't it? What struck me was how she's caught between being the dutiful daughter her family expects and carving out her own identity. That constant tug-of-war feels so relatable and powerful.
Right? And that whole creating Nikki thing. It's like she's using this alter ego to escape, to be someone who isn't held down by all those expectations. Honestly, it reminded me so much of Sirius Black in Harry Potter. You know, rebelling against his family's traditions and finding his identity outside of all that.
That's a great comparison. Like Sirius, Veronique isn't outright rejecting her family. There's an underlying pain there, and a sense of duty. But with Nikki, she's giving herself permission to live differently, which is liberating in a way. The cards really highlight this, don't they?
Yes! I was so into the tarot scene. The Wheel of Fortune, the World, the Magician. She's reading these symbols as a kind of validation, I think. Like, maybe there's hope that she can control her own destiny after all, even if she's not totally sure how yet. did you catch how that last card, death, was just left there?
I did, and what a clever touch. It's one of those moments where the text quietly suggests something deeper. Death isn't necessarily a bad card. Symbolically, it's more about transformation. Maybe even letting go of parts of herself that no longer serve her.
Exactly. And you know what else? I love how this internal battle she's going through makes her feel kind of timeless. Like, yeah, it's her family and their honour, but who hasn't felt that push and pull of what others want versus what you want for yourself? It's so relatable.
It really is. And I think that ties beautifully into Sam's story too. His drive to prove himself to his family, especially after such a tragedy. It's almost the flip side of Veronique's journey. He's not rebelling, but he's carrying a similar burden of expectations.
Totally. You can feel how invested he is in this chance to join the Order. Like, for him, it's not just about him. It's his whole family's place on the line. That weight, plus his excitement about finding where he belongs, it's such a big moment for him.
And at the same time, there's this undercurrent of fear, isn't there? He's so eager, but what if he fails? That letter on his desk, it's like there's a thread of doubt creeping in that he can't quite shake.
Oh, totally. And speaking of fear, can we talk about how Sam's mum isn't really on board with this whole thing? Like, Angelique's trying to be supportive, but you can tell she's not thrilled about sending another child off into this unknown world.
Absolutely. It makes you wonder how much of Sam's determination is about proving himself to her too. It's such a layered dynamic. And looking at Veronique and Sam together, they're both navigating these intersections of identity and obligation, just in different ways.
Yeah, it's like they're mirrors. Not exact, but they reflect each other in these fascinating ways. Honestly, I am obsessed with how the book balances all these internal struggles with the broader, epic world building. Who knew family drama could feel this intense? You know, when we left off talking about Sam, I keep thinking about his letter, the way it just sits there, almost daring him to confront it. And then with Joe's chaotic packing, it's like every corner of his world is pushing him to step into the unknown. It feels so raw and immediate, doesn't it?
It is. The anticipation is palpable. I think the chapter does an incredible job of mirroring that emotional intensity through both the small, personal moments, like Sam's mother's reluctance, and the broader stakes tied to the Order. It's this duality that makes you feel the weight of everything that's about to happen.
Exactly. And I love how Joe's packing scene adds that little bit of humour amidst the tension. Like, his mum's panicked over-the-top preparation. Totally relatable. I think we've all had those moments with well-meaning parents trying to make sure we're ready for something new.
Definitely. But notice how even within that humour, there's an undercurrent of anxiety. It's almost as if Joe's uncertainty about what to pack mirrors his uncertainty about what's ahead. I think it's a clever detail. It subtly connects the personal with the bigger questions.
Oh, yes, totally. And speaking of bigger questions, I can't stop thinking about that letter. Honestly, it gave me chills. Like, who wrote it? And what does Sam's family's place in the Order actually mean? It's this perfect, tantalising little mystery, and the book doesn't give too much away.
Exactly. We know it's significant, but the specifics are still hazy. That's what's so brilliant about it. It teases just enough to keep us hooked without revealing too much. And I think symbolically, that letter represents so much more than just the words on the page. It's about Sam's fears, his ambitions, and, ultimately, his family's legacy.
Right. The stakes feel personal and huge all at once. And I think that ties so well into the whole theme of the unknown in this chapter. Like, everything is shifting for these characters, and they're on the brink of something entirely new. It's scary, but at the same time, so exciting.
It really is. And that's what makes this chapter and this moment in the story so powerful. The characters are scared, but they're also determined. It's this fascinating blend of bravery and vulnerability that defines them as they step forward into the next stage of their journey.
And for us as readers, it's such an amazing setup for what's to come. Like, where will the Order lead them? What challenges are they going to face? It's just, I can't wait to see how it all unfolds.
Neither can I. There's so much potential, and the story has already laid such a solid foundation. I think what excites me most is how these personal and emotional stakes are tied into such a grand, mysterious narrative. It's the perfect recipe for an unforgettable journey.
Absolutely. This book just gets better and better the more we dig into it. Honestly, I could talk about it all day. But for now, I guess that's a wrap on today's discussion.
It is, and what a discussion it's been. Thanks for diving into this with me. It's always a joy to unpack all these layers together.
Same here. And to everyone listening, thank you for joining us. We'll be back soon to dive even deeper into The Stone Thieves. Until then, happy reading.